And thank you all for clicking whatever buttons Zoom asks you to click. And let me pass it over to the wonderful Mariella. And thank you, Mariella, for leading and guiding this sit today. Over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Brian. And thank you everyone again for being here. As many of you already did it, you can keep your camera off or on, whatever makes you feel comfortable and safe. Allow yourself to do that. And finding a comfortable position, something that feels relaxed and alert. We'll be practicing for about 20 minutes or so. So finding a position where you can ideally be still, even if that's laying down. I trust that you know your body and that you will know what's best for you right now. I'm going to ring the bell one time to signal beginning of practice, and 3 times at the end of practice. And so I'd like to invite you to use the sound of the bell as an invitation to start bringing the attention to this moment. And as you start bringing all of the attention, all your attention to this moment, the body being here, you might want to start by taking a couple of deeper breaths and taking a deep inhale, a deep exhale. With the next inhale, invite the body to soften. Drop down the shoulders, softening the jaw. With the exhale, releasing any tension that you're aware of that's present right now. Inviting a sense of ease into the body. Maybe also taking a moment to orient yourself in the space you're in. And if your eyes are closed, you can do that by noticing the different sounds around you. You can notice smells. Feeling the temperature of the space you're in. And directing the attention inward into the body. Noticing the posture of the body. See if you need to make any adjustments. Bringing awareness to the different points of contact of the body with the chair, the cushion, the sofa, the bed, whatever object you are sitting or laying down on. Bringing awareness to sensations in the back. Sensations in the sit bones area. The legs. Feeling the contact of the feet with the ground. Just for a moment, also taking a moment to recognize the earth underneath you, earth holding you, and for the next few moments, just resting in the awareness of simply being here. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. Just simply being here. Noticing what is it like to be human right now. What does it feel to be alive in this moment right now? And to the best of your abilities, opening up yourself to what's already here. Letting the different parts of you continue arriving. Bringing a quality of attention, of kind attention, of curious attention. A quality of attention and attitude that is non-judgmental. And as you rest in the experience of just simply being here, see if you can locate the breath in the body. And for the next few moments, resting the awareness in the experience of the breath. If for any reason the breath doesn't feel like a safe place for you to rest the attention in this moment, that's okay. You can find a different anchor. Maybe bringing attention to the soles of the feet or even sound. But if breath is okay for you to rest the attention, do that. Noticing the different characteristics of the breath. Really resting the attention into the experience of the felt sense. Really feeling the breath in the body. Not thinking about the breath, but really experiencing the breath moment by moment. Notice how you don't need to make the breath happen. The body knows how to breathe. So letting breath breathe you. And very naturally, the mind will get carried away with different sounds if that's not your anchor, with images, thoughts, stories. And that's okay. That's what the brain does. And the invitation is to simply notice that the mind got carried away. And very kindly return the attention back to the anchor, back to the experience of the felt sense, feeling the breath. And as the body continues to breathe, I invite you now to expand the attention to the awareness to the whole entire body. Becoming aware of the body from head to toes. And noticing the different sensations that are present in the body, in the physical body. Recognizing what's here present in this moment. And to the best of your abilities, allowing what's here, what's present in the body to be here. Without wishing it to be any different than what it is. Just for a moment, letting the experience to be exactly as it is. Taking a moment also to recognize the different emotions that are present, the thoughts that are present, and recognizing them not as a way of engaging with them, but just simply acknowledging that they are present and they are manifesting in the body as a physical sensation. See if you can allow this experience to be here. If for any reason you're feeling resistance, see if you can allow the resistance to be here. If you encounter judgment, see if you can notice the judgment and not judge the judgment. Really opening up yourself to the different experiences that are coming and passing by. Can you notice how they are changing? They are impermanent. The thought, emotion, sensation, they arise and pass by. We are practicing holding all of it in love and awareness. All of you and all of what's already here, it's welcome here in this space. Without a judgment. This is what it feels like to be human right now. And perhaps you can offer yourself a phrase, a word of compassion for yourself. Perhaps something like, I'm here for you. I will not abandon you. Accept you exactly as you are. Just something that really resonates with you, something that could be supportive to you in this moment. Really let yourself receive that, feel that. In this practice, we befriend ourselves, the different parts of ourselves, even those parts of ourselves that are undesirable. We befriend that. Taking one more deep inhale as a way of nurturing the body. And as we approach the end of our practice, of our time together, I would like to end by inviting you to bring attention to gratitude and see if you can find something to be grateful for in this moment. Maybe a part of the body, a person, an event, an object, a pet. Whatever that is. And notice how gratitude feels in the body. And where in the body do you experience gratitude? And if for any reason gratitude doesn't feel accessible to you, that's okay. You can acknowledge that. But if you can really feeling into the experience of gratitude, and also take a moment and find gratitude for yourself for having made the time to be here, for gifting this time to yourself and being with you in this way. Being with me in this way, it feels like an act of radical love and radical acceptance. Perhaps this resonates with you. And really honor that. You could have been doing something completely different, but you chose to be here with you. And when I ring the bell, see if you can continue bringing this quality of attention, of still staying connected to the body. And when you're ready, coming back to the screen, bringing movement to the body at your own rhythm, opening up the eyes and letting color shapes come to you. So thank you all for your practice. And now I pass it on to Brian for our next talk. And thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Mariella. Thank you so much. It's always so nice to have an opportunity to be reminded about gratitude. I always forget. So it's nice to have that reminder. And I'm very grateful for you, Mariella. Very grateful. Yeah. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome back, and to those that joined mid-sit. Welcome. We are still the InsightLA Mindfulness and Deep Suffering Practice Group. We're a practice group. We're an affinity group. It's a great group. Mariella and I, a few years ago, we sort of stumbled on this acronym, or the double meaning of the word hope. We were talking about hope and deep suffering. My deep suffering, and I lost hope. I didn't know where to find it. I was talking to Mariella. We were talking, and then it was Mariella who well, it was both of us, but I remember Mariella distinctly saying hope as an acronym, and the acronym being healing ourselves through the present experience. Yeah, healing ourselves through the present experience. And thank goodness there are these opportunities and invitations, like a balloon kind of floating by, and to grasp onto it, maybe the string or maybe even the balloon itself in this present moment. And it's okay, there will be more. The present moment is always here for us, and that I can, yeah. Anyways, today's talk is not about metaphors. We talked about metaphors, I think, 2 weeks ago. Today, we're not talking about metaphors. Today, we're talking about paradoxes. And by the way, I just looked at my own screen because I wanted to see how I'm looking. There's a, when you have one piece of hair that's like, this is a paradox in my life. How can I? Okay, I'm not going to talk. I'm going to turn off my own camera. I don't want to look at myself anymore. Okay, hide self there. Here's a paradox. If I turn off my camera, am I still having a bad hair day, even if I can't see it? Okay, let's get serious. Okay, this is serious stuff here. Serious. And by the way, we wanted to let everybody know that, and thanks, Mariella. So we're going to add an extra 15 minutes onto today. Instead of ending at 11:30 Pacific time, we'll end at 11:45 Pacific time. So we can have extra time for sharing. My talk is going to last about 15 minutes. So then we'll be able to still have our 25 minutes of community, connection, questions, reflections, inquiry, and then we'll have a closing sit. And thank you, Mariella, for leading us in a closing sit and offering the merits of our time together today. So that's a little bit about the plan for the next 15 or 20 minutes. So I have some slides prepared with a beautiful purple background that I love. And so I hope that these slides are interesting and supportive and helpful. And here we go. So today's talk is on paradoxes. And some of you may have heard about, well, in the name on, you got the email on the subject line, this sentence is false, one of the oldest paradoxes we have. And I'm also going to be drawing from Brene Brown's wonderful, amazing, most recent book, Atlas of the Heart, which is, in some ways, it's an encyclopedia of emotions, but it's so much more. It's a combination of all her great research on vulnerability, and it's great. So I'll be drawing from that too today. Now, the most important part of all. Oh, look at you. I do like to start my teachings with These beautiful animals. Okay, and this, by the way, that water looks very cold, but to that beautiful creature, just right. Just right, the temperature. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful baby. Oh, it's a red panda. I'm not just a panda, I'm a red panda. They had these red pandas at the zoo in Washington, D.C. when I used to live there. Oh, I love red pandas. Oh, who am I? Look at my ears. Aren't they beautiful? Yes, they are beautiful. Yes, they are. Okay. And last, and please don't look at my fingers. Please don't look at my beautiful spots. Don't look at my fingers. Don't look at my fingers, please. Look at my beautiful spots. Okay. I'm beautiful too. So we're going to talk about paradoxes. And this is delving into duality. Yeah. Something that can be true, an idea that appears to contradict itself. Tricky. So I think we all know what we're looking at right now. It's a zebra. And this beautiful creature is a horse. There's going to be a quiz at the end, by the way, so please take notes. But what is this? Interesting. Is it a horse? Is it a zebra? Interesting. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So this paradox, wait a minute, wait a minute. And the mind says, what's happening here? What's happening? This mind of ours that's trying to make sense of and figure out. I remember the first mindfulness class I ever took. It was at InsightLA, and one of the facilitators, she said, the mind produces thoughts like the mouth produces saliva. It's always going and going and going and going and going and trying to figure out. And so also I thought this was really interesting. The Latin term that we get paradoxum, seemingly absurd, but really true. Interesting, interesting. And so a paradox is the appearance of contradiction between two related components, right? Ideas that appear to contradict itself. It could be a statement, could be a situation, could be an idea. Is it a horse or a zebra? If it's a horse, but it has stripes. But if it's a zebra, then why aren't the stripes everywhere on the body? And with many of these dualities and paradoxes, upon closer examination, there appears to be a revealing some truth or some validity, some truth. And I think this is a handy, helpful, interesting reminder. Paradox is not an emotion, although it absolutely does lead to emotions. And friendly reminder from the world of cognitive behavioral therapy, this revolution since the 80s. Yeah, emotions are logically connected to our thoughts, for sure, for sure. But paradox is not an emotion; it's a thought, right? The statement is false, and we'll come to that one in a bit. A paradox. Now, Carl Jung, good old Jung. The paradox is one of our most valuable spiritual possessions. Personally, when I see the word spiritual, I often think about connection. Connection, yeah, spiritual. I don't really read spiritual as, religious. The paradox is one of our most valuable spiritual possessions. Only the paradox comes anywhere near to comprehending the fullness of life. You know, my grandma is no longer alive, but we still talk. How could that be? Now, here's just a little bit about the oldest paradox. It's not the oldest, it's the oldest known paradox, liar's paradox, Epimenides' paradox. And interestingly, I didn't even know, this is in the Bible too. Interesting. Paul talks about it in the Bible. Cretans, Cretans are always liars, evil brutes, lazy gluttons. This testimony is true. It's just, and I just wanted to share that because, whoa, this goes way, way, way back. Way, 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 way back. They were talking about it in the Bible about what happened way before. And here's our friend Epimenides, the Cretan philosopher. This sentence is false. And I'll just play this out a little bit. The sentence is false. Well, if it's false, well, I'm not going to go through that because I want to share other examples. The sentence is false. Here's another famous paradox. The paradox of the ship of Theseus. Whether a ship that has had all its parts replaced, imagine we took all those planks out and replaced them piece by piece. Whether a ship that has had all its parts replaced is still the same ship. At what point would we call that a new ship? If we take out all but one plank? Interesting. Here's another one. The paradox of the Grand Hotel. Hilbert's paradox. Man, do you like this? Here's just a pair. Okay, it's almost over. It's getting a little academic-y right now. Okay. When's the mindfulness start? Here's a very quickly. Let's say this hotel was completely full, and somebody came into the lobby and said, "Do you have a room, please?" Well, it would be full, except what if we took the person from the room 1, move them to room 2, so the new guest can take room 1? Oh, there's an answer. So we take person in room 1, move them to room 2, take person in room 2, move them to room 3, take room 3, move them to room 4. We make room. Now, here's a great book. If people do want to read more and learn more about paradoxes, this is a really great book. It's On the History of the Word Zero. And this is a dangerous idea. That's why it's called The Biography of a Dangerous Idea. The word zero, the concept of infinity, these are really dangerous themes. Because wait, how can the infinite and nothing be held at the same time? Anyways, I just wanted to share this in case people want to learn more about the history of these concepts. And the last one I'll just share about is the runner's paradox, which is if we imagine there's a finish line, right? And runners. And it was proposed by this guy named Zeno that said that it is impossible for a runner to ever reach the finish line. Why? Why is it impossible for a runner to ever reach the finish line? Well, because every runner must first cover half the distance to the finish line, and then half of that remaining distance, and then half of that remaining distance. And again, all of these, and yes, academics and mathematicians and people who are interested in logic, there are solutions. But the reason that I'm talking about this today is not how do we solve these paradoxes, but rather what happens when we sit with these paradoxes. And the mind doesn't like it, by the way. The mind does not like it. Again, how is it that I can still speak with my grandma or my friend Erica, whose anniversary of her death is coming up in a few weeks? How is it she's no longer here, but we still connect and speak? And as a grief therapist, I talk about this every day. It's spoken about every day. I don't get it. How can it be? I feel so close to my daughter, even though she died 5 years ago. And it's true. So now the mind, again, this is Paradox is not an emotion, so I am talking a little bit more about heady stuff today, thinking. But the cognitive dissonance, no, it's a zebra. By the way, I'm wearing a shirt today. I don't know. Some people might say it's green. Some people might say it's blue. And yeah, I know it's turquoise, but let's just say the mind wants an answer, right? The mind wants an answer. Okay. I'm not a good son. I'm not. I can't be good and bad at the same time. I crashed my dad's car. I'm a bad son. So while cognitive dissonance pushes us to resolve the tension of conflicting information, the paradox challenges us to straddle the tension of two conflicting elements. And yes, recognizing that they can be both true. Yeah. Yeah, she's not here anymore. She's not alive, but she still lives on in my heart. And a famous example that light and dark, that there is Thich Nhat Hanh. He said that we don't have to wait until the suffering ends in order to feel or experience peace, connection, equanimity. The storm is all around us. And so actually, it is within the world of suffering. This is the deep suffering group. And it is within the world of deep suffering that we can still find connection. So yeah, people have been thinking about this for thousands of years. And how interesting about vulnerability. This is what Brene Brown sees in her research, that in vulnerability is the first thing we look for in other people. And the last thing we want to show them about ourselves. How interesting. How interesting. It's true for me. Really, it's absolutely true. And some people mentioned this earlier, you know, your hair looks great today, but you were late. And we do live in a but world. Sorry. This is a PG-13 group here. We live in a but world, all y'all. but and and for me, it's invalidating, you know. But some of us are waiting for the other shoe to drop, you know. Sometimes when we receive a compliment or flattery or something, you know. Earlier, somebody said something about they liked the group and my sense of humor, and in my mind, I thought, well, there's got to be a but coming, you know. There has to be, right? And so, and interesting, interesting. I mean, yeah, and yeah. Here's some other ones. Tough and tender. Being here, listening to some of these things. Maybe when I was talking about my grandma, some of you had some moments of tenderness there. The strength and vulnerability, and Brene Brown talks about this all the time. There's nothing stronger than vulnerability. Closed and open. And I don't need to say a lot because that's sitting with this, to be closed and open, to be decisive and uncertain. And speaking with silence. Some people here are counselors or therapists, and it's interesting being with people and silence. There's so much that can be said in the silence. Helping without fixing. Things can be hard and good. Yeah, mindfulness is an example. Simple but not easy. Here's a quote from Eric Michael Leventhal. I'm just the teaching's almost over here. The shortest interval between 2 points is the awareness that they are not two. Life and death, for example. that there are connections that, and I've mentioned this before, there's a theory in grief therapy now, the continuing bonds therapy, continuing bonds theory, that how do we maintain connections with the people we love across the divide of life and death? And it's possible. And all things are not only defined by their opposite, but they are also the most whole when they contain elements of their opposite. And this is an interesting reflection. What if the opposite were also true? And all of us are together. And by the way, the last paradox that I'll share, or contradiction, before I finish up and turn off the recording so we can have some community, is how is it that we're connected over Zoom here? You know, we're not together. We're all in different, many of us are in different cities, time zones, countries. So we're not together, but we are together. And just sitting with that, and that we're together. And while our hands are not together and we're not actually in the same room together, but we are. Wait, I said but, and we are. Yeah. And connection. That there is connection even in the darkest times. And maybe the last thing I'll say, maybe even though our mind says it has to be one or the other, and that if I'm suffering now, then the opposite of suffering must be no suffering, right? The mind says that. The opposite of grief must be no grief. The opposite of suicide must be no suicide. The opposite of anxiety must be the absence of anxiety. But perhaps, the 12-step programs, right? We say the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is not no addiction. The opposite of addiction is connection, right? The opposite of grief is connection. The opposite of suicide is connection. The opposite of suffering is not no suffering. The opposite of suffering is connection. And thank goodness that we can connect with other people. We can connect with ourselves. Earlier, we were talking about giving and receiving love, including to and from with people who are no longer living, but still live inside us. So connection with other people, connection with ourselves, and a connection with yeah, why am I here? This meaning, right? What am I going to do with this one precious life? Somebody told me a few years ago, this is not the rehearsal. This is not the rehearsal. This is the show. So what are we going to do with this life of ours? Connection to all these things. And I think that's about it. And so thank you all for your kind attention. I hope that this was supportive and helpful. If there was anything that I shared in this teaching that caused any harm, please know that that was not my intention. And I'm so glad that I could share some of these ideas. Yeah. So thank you so much. Oh, let me turn off the recording so I can start cursing.